it is significantly cheaper and significantly faster than the process you would follow in Canada or America.
Once we do graduate, we will be IMGs, yes, international medical graduates, but we will be given more preference as compared to the local Pakistanis.
Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for joining yet another episode of the Premed Podcast International Series. In today's episode, we'll be exploring uncharted waters and taking a deep dive into applying to medical school in Pakistan as someone who is American or Canadian. I'm your host, Marhoon Ahmed, an associate from MedAngle Premed and a medical student at CMH Lahore. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. Joining me today are our lovely speakers, Fatima and Mustafa. Fatima, could you please start us off by introducing yourself and sharing why you chose to study medicine in Pakistan?
All right. Hi, assalamu alaikum. I'm Fatima Amer, and I'm from Houston, Texas. And I'm currently a second-year medical student at CMH Lahore Medical College. And I wanted to do medicine from Pakistan because, one, yes, it does save time and money. But the main reason was that I eventually do want to practice medicine here. And what better way to prepare myself than this? And I basically just wanted to establish a channel of communication with the people here. I wanted to make sure that I could be a good doctor to people from all sorts of socioeconomic backgrounds, and that's basically why I came here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fatma. Being in Pakistan definitely gives you a different perspective that we truly do not have access to at all in the US or in Canada. Now, Mustafa, if you could please share a little bit about yourself as well and why you also chose to study in Pakistan.
Hi, I'm Mustafa. I come from Canada. I'm a second-year dental student at Dr. Shili Khan Institute of Health Science, or commonly referred to as DICIOS. The reason I chose to do dentistry was, and especially from Pakistan, just like what Fatima said, it is significantly cheaper and significantly faster than than the process you would follow in Canada or America. And not only that, just the case studies that you get to do here and the different experiences you will see while working here, either as house officer or hopefully as a future dentist or a doctor here, will significantly broaden your views to something that you wouldn't see in, let's say, America or Canada. Because in America and Canada, you won't see people with like a squamous papilloma caused due to tobacco chewing or due to gutka eating. Sorry, I just know this one right now because we just learned about it, so it's right up in my head. So because of that, like you won't really see these types of case studies, especially in Canada. Like the most, if you go into emergency medicine, you would most likely see ATV related incidents or traffic vehicle accidents, which are most of the things you would see. So that's why I believe that coming to Pakistan is like a way that you can help broaden your views and also prepare you for other scenarios that you would most likely not see in your respective countries.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mustafa and Fatma. Now we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. But before we do that, I just want to let you guys know, for anybody who's watching, at this stage, you've probably realized that we have a pretty diverse panel here. So whether you're from the States, if you're from Canada, if you're interested into going into MBBS or into BDS, this is kind of your all-stop shop. And we hope that this episode is helpful for you and gives you the guidance you need to make this decision as informed as possible. Now, our first conversation is going to be around, the biggest question, which is studying in medicine in Pakistan worth it? We're getting started with the elephant in the room. And whether you are someone who's watching right now, you're in high school, you're exploring your options, or you're on track to apply for the 2024 cycle, or a Desi parent who is trying to convince their kid to come to Pakistan, the biggest question on your mind is it worth it? So let's get into it. My first question is going to be, is it possible to go back home after finishing med school here? Fatima, could you tell us from the perspective of somebody who's, you know, on the USMLE route after medicine here? Go ahead.
Okay, so I know there's a lot of match horror stories. People have done everything right, gotten amazing test scores, and they still don't end up matching. But once we do graduate, we will be IMGs, yes, international medical graduates, but we will be given more preference as compared to the local Pakistanis. This entire 5-year MBBS journey is your chance to fill up your CV with as many qualifications and accomplishments as you can. Make do of your time here and use the resources you have back home. Getting a match is a difficult process, no doubt, but it's difficult whether you're an IMG or not. It's difficult here and back in the States. And some of you will have to prove yourself more than the others. So yes, it requires a lot of effort and patience and money, but it's not impossible. You can go back home.
Thank you so much, Fatima. And I just want to add to that as well. It's, you know, a lot of people get very scared about coming to Pakistan for med school because you think once you leave the system, it's impossible to come back. But the truth is, there are so many people out there that do this, and it is very much possible. It's all about the effort that you put into it. And even looking at this from a statistical point of view, as somebody who is American or Canadian and you are coming to the States, I mean, to Pakistan and then going back afterwards for the USMLE for residency, it will still be easier for you because you are still considered a US IMG, which is what Fatima was touching on as well. So do keep that in mind, but you know, do everything you can to make as informed of a decision as possible, because yes, there are things that are a lot harder for IMGs as compared to people that graduated from med school in United States. Those obviously get the most preference, but of course after that comes US IMGs. Now, Mustafa, if you could please answer as well whether it's impossible to go back home after finishing dental school in Pakistan.
For dental school, let's say the short answer is yes, you're able to go home and become a dentist there. The long answer, which most people would want to hear, is that it's difficult, but it's not hard. So basically, you basically have to keep about a 80%, which is around a 3.2 GPA. And I mean by American standards, 3.2 GPA, not the ones that you see over here, which a 4.0 is somehow a 75%. Like you need an 80% overall. You need a 75% in your English proficiency. That is if you have taken Canadian high school. You need to be a permanent resident or a natural born citizen. And then once you apply, you need to give the ADATS. This is the Advanced Dental Admissions Test. Score either in their minimum range or the preferred range. And then once they accept you, you have to then provide more documents such as your transcripts, a educational CV, whatever the university you're going to wants. And then they'll put you in a 6-month program, which they will basically review everything you learned in first and second year. Once you pass that 6-month program, they will either put you in second year or they'll put you in third year, depending on the university you go to. And then this would cost you around maybe 45,000 Canadian dollars per year. And then depending on how long your course is, so it can either be a 3-year or a 2-year, depending on if you, let's say, go to the U of A, the U of T, UBC, depending on whatever dental course you take and what the requirements are. It's always different for each province, so you always want to make sure that, hey, do I want to go to this university or this university? You want to pay this much or this much? But they relatively follow the same guidelines. ADATS, 80% GPA, 75% in your English proficiency, in your 30 level English proficiency. I do recommend that for Albertan students, because that's where I come from, Alberta, that you do take 30-1, not -2. Even though -1 seems harder, it will help you in the long run, and getting a 75% shouldn't be that hard. Yeah, that's about it. And once you complete your 3 to 2 years of dental school, you can become any dentist you want, any type of dentist. You can be an endodontist, pedodontist, orthodontic, anyone, any type. You don't have any limitation. Like I've heard that they're having in medicine, where they bar you from becoming a neurologist or a neurosurgeon or a cardiovascular surgeon or someone in gynecology.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mustafa. Now, you already did touch a little bit upon this, but could you tell us a little bit about whether you're actually saving time and money studying dental school in Pakistan?
You're actually saving a considerable amount of time and money. If I remember correctly, you would be saving about, it's 4 years of undergraduates. Then you have to take the DAT, which is the dental admissions test, and then you have to score good enough in the DAT to then apply to dental schools, which is another 4 years. So that's 8 years in total of just studying. While when you come to Pakistan, it's 4 years. Now, of course, when you go back, they'll make you go through dental school again. But unlike national Pakistanis, they will put you either in second year or third year, depending on the university you go to, and then depending on the university you get accepted to. So you can save between 2 to 3 years, sometimes 4 years, sometimes. And considerable amount of money. So basically, for an undergraduate degree, you're basically spending about 8,000 per year, which is about 32 to 40,000 dollars, Canadian dollars, just for an undergraduate degree. Because your undergraduate degree isn't just limited to 4 years; it's limited to how many credit hours you get. Until you complete your credit hours, can you graduate? And of course the required courses as well. And then that's not including the books you need to buy, the hostel expenses, and like food and everything like that. So that's just another 10 to 15,000 just added on top of that. So you're basically spending 40 to 45,000 Canadian dollars just for an undergraduate degree. And then you need to do the 4 years of dental school, which is between 40 to 45,000. And then the 4 years accumulate to between 160,000 to 180,000 just for 4 years of dental school. And then that's also not including the books and all the stuff you need to buy. So basically combining everything for undergraduate degree plus the graduate degree of dentistry, the DDS degree, you're saving about 158,000 Canadian dollars. So you're saving a considerable chunk of money.
Absolutely. There's a huge difference in, how much money you're saving and versus spending and studying, in the North America versus coming back to Pakistan. Fatima, could you also give us some insight on this from like an MBBS perspective on like, the difference in the time that's actually spent versus like, the money you're spending as well?
Okay, so if you're on a foreign seat here, medical school will cost you around 100K USD. It's around 18K to 20K per year. So, and then of course, accommodations will need money as well. And I'm not saying 100K is petty cash, okay? But comparing it to your total cost of your undergrad degree, medical school, and then accommodations, it's crazy expensive in the States. And sure, there are options of financial aid and scholarships and grants and stuff like that, but those aren't guaranteed options for everyone. Your financial advisors over there will likely push you towards student loans and stuff like that, but you'll end up paying more than you take. So that's the financial benefit of coming to Pakistan, because medical school over there is around 50K per year. Okay, and that's 4 years of med school over there. Undergrad degree, depending on whatever bachelor's of science you get, biochem, physics, it's usually 40K total. So you can do the math yourself. It's more expensive over there than compared to here. Here, MBBS or the medical pathway is around 5 years. Okay, over there it's 8 years. And you end up saving 3 years if you don't take any gap years and stuff like that. And you know what they say, time is money. So compared to your peers pursuing medicine over there, you will be ahead. And even if you take a gap year to study for the Mdcat or stuff like that, even if you save 1 year, you still will be considerably ahead of your peers over there. And saving time and money is kind of the reason why I also came here. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fatima. As somebody who's also pursuing MBBS, I have to say I agree. Studying in the States, as as much as it has its benefits, at the end of the day is extremely expensive. And on top of that, the time difference is immense, right? We're talking 4 years undergrad and then MCAT and then 4 years of med school. That's an ideal situation. Most people end up taking multiple gap years before they end up even applying to medical school, just because of the way that our application system works. It's very rigorous, it's very difficult. And these are things that we all took into consideration, and that's why we ultimately came towards Pakistan. I can say for myself, one thing I really liked about it is that there's a sense of finality, right? You're committing to something. At the end of the day, right, when you go into undergrad, you're still not sure if you're going to find your way into med school one day. By coming to Pakistan, you're speeding yourself through that process. All things aside, you are going to be a doctor at the end of those 5 years, and that is a big thing. So yeah, thank you so much.
You have a guaranteed result here. If you go through MBS, you have a guaranteed result. Yeah.
Exactly. And once you have that degree, there is so much you can do with it. The opportunities are really endless, and it all lies on you. One thing though, I will say, do not get it confused. People think, okay, over here it's 8 years to do it in the States, and in Pakistan it's only 5 years, and after 5 years I'll be in my first year of residency. That is not true, right? That is a very idealistic situation. Realistically, after you finish your 5 years of MBBS, most people end up taking another year, maybe even 2-3 years to actually complete their USMLE step 1 and step 2 exams so that they can actually apply to residency. If you are worried about being in that position, it all depends on you. You can give those exams while you're in medical school. You just have to be very proactive about it. So do take that into consideration. You will be saving time, but that doesn't mean after 5 years you're going to be in a hospital as a PGY1. Unfortunately, it does not work that way either. All right. Now, we've talked about the time and money aspect of this. Now, let's look at this in terms of the factors that you should really take into consideration before making the moves. Fatima, could you tell us, the top 3 things somebody who's interested in coming to Pakistan for med school should take into consideration, or even something you took into consideration before you made the move here?
So, okay, I really want you guys to ponder over this question. Do you think you can survive in Pakistan? And I'm going to stay very close to the facts. I'm not sugarcoating anything, okay? Even if you have family here, university life or just life in general is bound to give you culture shock. Okay, even the simplest of tasks here, and I mean it, even the simplest of tasks here require a lot of time, nerves of steel, and just an overabundance of patience. Okay, and then if you don't have family here, so life will truly be interesting for you, to say the very least. Okay, it's not impossible to live here. We're all doing it, but it's not child's play. Okay, you have to be mindful. You have to be careful of everything at all times. Okay. That's just, I'm telling you guys straight up, that's how it is over here. Secondly, the environment in university, it's a bit harsh here. And by harsh, I mean, it's not as supportive as it is in the West. In the West, in America, in high school, we're used to having these rubrics or these guides for every assignment, no matter how little or small the assignment is. There's always, they give you what they want from you. They give you the expectations. And if you come off on these expectations, you get a grade. It's simple as that. Over here, it's more difficult than that. You have to find what the professors at the particular college you're going to want from you through trial and error. And of course, you can get that info from your seniors as well, but it's only trial and error. They're not going to give you a handbook and be like, here, this is what we want from you. It's not like that. And then one more thing about the university life here is that the student culture here is more focused on passing the exam rather than becoming like a good doctor. So be prepared for a high probability of self-studying, okay? But now, thankfully, alhamdulillah, self-studying has been made easy because YouTube has a plethora of medical school professors and lecturers and ninja nerd, it's a piece of cake now. Now we come on to the foreign seat, okay? So we're being used to these rubrics and guides that I've already mentioned before. But I will say medical school compared to the States in here, it's not harder or easier. I'm not saying it's harder or easier over here or harder or easier in the States, but the difference between the two methods of education will make it hard to adjust. So truly ponder over the question, can you even survive here? That's basically what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, these are really important things to take into consideration. To give you a bit more insight, I'm someone who doesn't have family here. So I kind of just came here. You know, I'm not even originally from Lahore. I really like CMH Lahore. I checked out their website and I was really interested in attending here. And I showed up here 2 days before my orientation and I realized that things were not going to be as easy as I thought they were going to be. I live on campus, so I live in a dorm, or they call it hostels over here. And you know, it's very difficult. It's something you do not take into consideration. And I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because truly you do need a support system. I'm not saying it is impossible to live here without family. Um, I'm doing it and I'm thriving, so anyone can do it. It's just a matter of making sure you know what you're in for and taking it into consideration. Don't take a leap of faith. We're doing this so you can take every single factor into consideration before making this decision. That Mustafa, if you could also tell us, you know, one or two important factors that someone should take into consideration before making the move as well.
One of the biggest factor you should take in, there's two factors you should take in, but one of them has already been talked about. Do you have family here? If you do, then try and look for a university in that region or that city alone. Don't try and branch out, because if you have someone to rely on, use that person, because that the your Pakistani degree will only be worthwhile in Pakistan. But when you go back out, you'll need to work harder outside. But another factor you should look into is weather, temperature, weather. How suitable are you for the climate? I'm a Canadian, so I'm used to like -50, like -50 weather. Like that's like something I can deal with. But something to like +40 to +50, like I'm sweating like crazy. Like I have my AC on, my fans are running almost 24/7. And I'm in my second year at that. So that's something you should like look into. Can you handle the weather? If you can, then you'll match right in. Like this won't be that bad for you. But if you can, you might want to think of it. Now, weather shouldn't be your only factor, obviously. Don't be like, oh, it's too hot here, so I'm not gonna come here. No, you shouldn't just look at weather. Obviously, you should look at if you have family members here, can you stay with them? How far are they from the university you want to go to? What's your travel distance? Have you lived in the city before? For me, I've lived in Karachi before. I lived here for 2 years when I was younger. So it's not as alien to me as some other people. So being in Pakistan isn't that bad for me, because I know some of the ins and outs. I know what I should do and what I shouldn't do. I know that, hey, I shouldn't just have my phone out in public. This isn't like it's Canada where someone's not going to try and mug you. Like you shouldn't like have something out. You should be street smart, basically what I'm trying to say. You should have your street smarts, and just try not to act like you're a know-it-all or tough in front of someone that you don't know are they dangerous or not. And like another factor is, especially for the boys, I know the girls dorms, they're much better than the guy dorms, male dorms. Uh, like like they're insanely better. For boys dorms, for most government universities, there's a shared shower, shared bathroom, uh, and it's just a room with a bed and a desk. And that's all you get. And you can think of it like the scene from Three Idiots. I hope I'm not being too old now, but if you watch Three Idiots, there was a scene that all the boys were in the showering together. Hopefully, I'm not being weird by saying that. Uh, and they're singing "All Is Well." Um, so it's almost like that. where basically it's a level of just dorms, and then you're just going to have one washroom just for the whole floor, and that washroom will have your toilets and your showers. And so I really encourage you guys to like look, if you want to do dorm life, you either look at the dorms provided by the university, or you look at external dorms. External dorms are like apartments that you rent with other students, or an apartment that your parents will hopefully fund for you, or you'll have to fund yourself. Um, Another big factor to look at is ragging. Now, what is ragging? This is a new term that probably no one has heard. So ragging is basically where your seniors, second years, and house officers and the likes, they will come to you in your class, lock the doors. Well, that's what happened to us. They lock the doors and they will make all the they won't make you do anything dangerous. Don't worry. It's not gonna be like, oh, do something like this. No, it's basically they're trying to embarrass you in front of your classmates. And then afterwards, they will give you all the ins and outs of, hey, this teacher's like this. Here, do you need books? I can give you my books. Or if you need books, we can ask around from our batch and get you guys your books for like a lower discounted price, and I'll have all our notes in it as well. We'll share you guys our presentations that the teachers gave us and stuff like that. Ragging is basically an initiation process. You can think of it like Greek life or a frat life uh, in America and Canada. And instead of the Greek symbols, you're going to have a lasting bond with your seniors. And you can always come to them because they'll be dependable. Now, ragging in dorms is a different story. Because I didn't do dorms, whatever stays in the dorms stays in the dorms. You don't talk about what happened in the dorms. Think about Fight Club. Whatever happens in Fight Club stays in Fight Club. So it's usually much more mean. I'd like to put it. It's like it's kind of more mean for what they would do. It's more a little bit more like handsy. Now, not handsy as in the way in like not handsy in the way in like uh it will make you feel uncomfortable, but then those people are some people you can depend on. But when it comes to dentistry, not a lot of people, especially guys, take dentistry. So you will be almost alone when it comes to dorm life because you won't be able to relate to your MBBS friends because they'll be talking about something different while you'll be talking about the primary second molar or the deciduous first molar. Like they're not going to understand what you mean by that.
Absolutely.
So that is something to look at. It's the the uh, the the quantity of medical students to dental students in the dorms, the ragging that happens, and of course, ragging in girls' dorms is different. They'll probably just do something different. Fatima or Maroon can probably talk about that because I haven't experienced it, nor has anyone told me how it's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ragging is definitely one of the things that happens here that a lot of us don't even know exists before you get here. Honestly, the movie Three Idiots is probably your best reference to what life is going to be like in Pakistan. Not completely, but it will give you an idea of it because it is very similar to the social construct that still exists here. And ragging is a part of that. On the girl side, thankfully I have completely never gotten ragged. Honestly, when you are a foreign student, and I'm sorry, Mustafa, that you did not have this luck, but we end up not getting ragged because they're like, oh, foreigner. So it's that's like one perk of being foreign. Um, and yeah, absolutely. One thing I do want to leave you guys with as well, which I think is a really important takeaway point from all of this in terms of like factors to consider, is do you want to study medicine? Are you 110% locked in that medicine is the field for you? Because if you are not, and you're still deciding, you're still on the fence, and this might not be the route for you. Once you take these steps and you come to Pakistan, you are locked in, and this will be your field. This is going to be what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. A lot of people come in without a full idea of what it means. Maybe they watch Grey's Anatomy or, some shows online and decide, like, I'm going to pursue medicine. It's going to be so fun. I'm going to be in a hospital. I'm going to be doing surgeries. And, in reality, it is not that. It is hard work, and a lot of it, grueling hours. And, the only thing that will really keep you through every obstacle you face when you come to Pakistan, especially in that first year when you're getting adjusted, is your passion for the field. And if you don't have that, I would highly recommend, if you are set, you do want to come to Pakistan, get yourself out there. One of the biggest perks about being in the States or in Canada is that you can volunteer at hospitals, you can work in local clinics, do what you can and establish your experience in the field. Make a reason for yourself for why you're pursuing this field, because if you don't have that reason, it is very, very difficult to stick to it. So please do try. Make sure you have a reason for coming here. Just see what you see online is oftentimes not going to be enough, right? Now that we've discussed, overall, approaching coming to Pakistan for med school altogether, and let's say you're somebody who's now decided, I am interested, I'm locked in, I'm going to give the Mdcat, I'm going to come to Pakistan. We're going to talk a little bit about that now and what that means, what these exams are, because honestly, as somebody who is in North America, it's very, very difficult to have an idea of what exams are in front of you, what obstacles there are that you have to cross to end up in Pakistan. Things are always changing, policies are always moving around, and you really have to be on top of this stuff if you want to come here for medical school. Now, one of the biggest challenges that these candidates face is preparing for and taking the Mdcat, right? Unfortunately, the Mdcat is an exam. It basically means the Medical and Dental College Admissions Test. You might be thinking MCAT or DAT, which is the exams that are done in the States. This is kind of a combination test. So whether you're interested in coming to medical school or to dental school, you are giving the same exam, which is the Mdcat. Now, this is based on the education system that is given in Pakistan. So this education is usually FSCs or A-level of education. And unfortunately, this can create a very big knowledge gap for North American candidates because there's so much to cover in this syllabus that you may have never even studied before, because high school follows a very different academic direction. So essentially, this becomes a self-study game, which means you need to work smart, but also hard to cover the material in time. It's not impossible. We're right here in front of you as proof that you can do it, but it can be very daunting at first. So let's discuss some specifics. Now, if you could tell us a little bit about the difference in exam format and actually covering the topics, Fatima.
Okay, so I would suggest past papers. Now, past papers are like practice questions, but not really. They're like basically old exams that haven't already been administrated, and they're just compiled in a book and they're sold. So those are past papers. So I would suggest past papers, and there's also a lot of these Mdcat preparation academies for prep, and a couple of topics that are on these entrance exams have been left out of our curriculum in high school. And these prep academies go through the entire process, entire syllabus covered on the exams, and at a pace that's comfortable for you. There's these prep academies, like the one that I went to was Academy, and it's right by my house. There's many in every city in Pakistan. So you can go there, you can choose a course that's 3 months, 6 months, whatever pace works for you. So it's very flexible. And then each topic that's tested on the exam has its separate lecture and practice questions. And then, like I mentioned, these academies are very flexible, but they're also flexible because they offer in-person courses and online. So for us international students, that's a win-win. But I would say choose the preparation method that is based on your learning style, okay? If you have a hard time staying on top of stuff, I would suggest going and enrolling at a preparatory academy, okay? But if you prefer to study at your own pace or at your own downtime, then YouTube is also an excellent alternative for that. There's millions of lectures uploaded that teach the syllabus thoroughly. So finding the resources is not hard. It's just that, yes, like I mentioned before, the method of education here is very different. In every city, there's like 2 different boards. Like I'm in Lahore right now, Lahore, Pakistan, and here you have the Federal Board of Education and the Punjab Board of Education. And the Mdcat kind of takes information from the Federal Board and the Punjab Board, and the information tends to kind of clash. So I do recommend going to the preparatory academies because one, yes, they go through the syllabus, but also because you kind of get this introduction into the Pakistani education system and you kind of learn, because over there I'm genuinely telling you, it's very different. And once I went to KIPS, it really opened my eyes and I was able to kind of grasp, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. And it was very helpful. So yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Fatima. It's very, very important that you familiarize yourself with the things that you're going to be tested on. You can Google PMC Mdcat syllabus for whatever year you're applying for. Sometimes, unfortunately, they are very, very late in uploading it. You can look at the one from the previous year, so you at least have an idea of where you're being tested on. Now, in terms of finding resources, this can be very difficult, but like Fatima just mentioned, everything is out there. It's just a matter of knowing what's available for you. One thing that I personally used as well during my journey was Med Premed. Now it's been made completely free as well. This has a complete question bank, so you can go in and you can just, every topic you cover, you can answer questions and you can see how you're doing as well. So I would recommend you guys check that out as well. There'll be a link in the description box. It is completely free, so there's no harm in trying it out and seeing if it works for you. As somebody who comes from an American system as well, it worked for me because I'm more of a concept-based learner and I can't just cram and route memorize everything like the students here can. So that's something that really helped me out a lot in that sense. Now, Fatima, if you could also tell us a little bit about the actual exams that a student should take that's interested in coming to medical school or dental school in Pakistan, because we mentioned the Mdcat, but there's some other exams and there's not a lot of clarity about this. Would you tell us a bit about that?
Okay, so I want to first start off by saying that the Mdcat here is kind of a combination of undergraduate in the States and high school. It's kind of like that. So that's why when I mentioned that a lot of the curriculum that's being studied here is left out in the States. It's because we haven't really reached that level. So now we come to the entrance exams. The NUMS exam, which is kind of the military medical pathway, and then you have the Mdcat, the ones by PMDC, which is the government pathway, and then you have AKU, which is solely Aga Khan University. It's a university in Karachi, I believe, right? Yeah, it's in Karachi. So the NUMS exams and the PMDC Mdcat exams, they are fairly similar in content and exam structure. The AKU entrance exam it requires more preparation because the syllabus is more extensive as compared to the others. You probably, if you are researching in coming to MBBS, you probably have heard of AKU. It's one of the top medical schools here, so that's why their syllabus tends to be more extensive. But personally, when you're deciding on what exam to take, if you know the location you want to go to, like for example, if you have family in Lahore or Karachi, and if you just want to stay in that location, then I think you can kind of not take AKU. Personally, I wanted to stay in Lahore, so I knew the AKU exam was not needed. I did not want to stay in a hostel, so I did not give the AKU exam. But still, every year, it gets more and more competitive for the medical school seats, even for the dental school seats. So most people take all three exams to keep their options open, and I would suggest the same. Just take it, because back in my time, 2021, it wasn't that long ago, but still, it's gotten way more competitive. So keep your options open and just give all three exams.
Yeah, absolutely. Things are getting more competitive and you always want to be in a position where you have taken an exam rather than not having taken it and now you're locked in. Now, just to clarify one more time the points that Fatima made for you guys, so it's crystal clear, the Mdcat is your non-negotiable exam. You have to give this exam. Even if, let's say, you take the AKU test and you get selected, AKU test runs off, they only select the top 300 people. It changes every year, but around the top 300 people that give that exam. Even if you get selected for the AKU test and you pass the test by their standards, but you have not given the Mdcat, you are not eligible for admission in any medical school or dental school in Pakistan. So please take that into consideration. The Mdcat, you have to give it. But the AKU test is specifically only for Aga Khan University. If you are somebody who's interested in studying there, then this is an exam you have to take. It is also another additional exam, which, as Fatima mentioned, is a bit more extensive and a bit more concept-based and requires a further studying. And then we have the NUMS test. The NUMS test it runs very parallel to the Mdcat. So if you do good preparation for the Mdcat, your preparation for the NUMS test is essentially done as well. So the NUMS test opens the doors for all the NUMS colleges for you. NUMS means National University of Medical Sciences, right? So Fatima and I both attend CMH Lahore. This is a university that is under NUMS, and we would not have been able to attend it had we not given the NUMS exam. So even if you score very well in the Mdcat, you can't apply to any college under NUMS if you have not given the NUMS test. So there's about 8 or 9 NUMS colleges. They're dispersed all across Pakistan. So do look into that and see if that is something you're interested in testing for. I would recommend testing for this, especially because I was very close to not giving the NUMS exam, and I did. And after giving everything, I realized I looked at CMH Lahore and it became my top choice. And I'm very, very glad that, alhamdulillah, I am here today. But had I not given that test, I would not have had that option at all. And CMH Lahore, all things aside, is an environment that does have a lot of foreign students present. So assimilating here and finding your own here is very easy as compared to some of the other colleges that are out there as well. So do take that into consideration. Now, now that we've discussed like the actual exams and which ones to take, Mustafa, if you could tell us a little bit about the actual practice and like study tips for these exams as well.
Now, when studying for the Mdcat, you shouldn't just look at the textbooks that your an Mdcat will come from. So for international students, your an Mdcat or Mdcat is formulated from the federal board books. So you're going to be giving the same exam as people from the federal board. So you should always be looking at their textbooks, what they learned, rather than looking at textbooks from the Sindh board or from the Baloch board or from KPK or Jammu and Kashmir. South Kashmir. So you should always be looking at the right textbook, and then you should always be doing past papers. Now, why should you be doing past papers? The reason you would want to do past papers is it gives you the general idea of what your exam will look like, how it's going to be worded. And I do generally recommend that you focus on the 3 sciences: physics, biology, and chemistry. I was going to say maths. When did math become science? And like there's English as well, and then there's what's the last one? The logical reasoning. Now, I do not recommend you study for logical reasoning. You cannot study for logical reasoning because I hate logical reasoning. It's my bane of existence, logical reasoning. So English is basically pretty easy marks for everyone who has basic English literacy. Basically, if you can read at a 5th grade level, you should be able to do the English portion of an Mdcat. And
unfortunately,
yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to add in there, like the English part of the exam. I'm sorry to break it to you guys. It's not SAT English.
It's not. Let me just tell you that right now.
Yeah, it's not it. But
I think that was the hardest part of the exam. I was like, is this English? What is this? Like I was trying to, I felt like Sherlock Holmes because I was like deciphering the English. So yeah, study English. Honestly, study English.
Study English the Pakistani way, because you're going to look at this and it's test at a 5th grade level, and it also looks like it was written by a 5th grader. Unfortunately, you're going to look at this and be like, everything, even the question is grammatically incorrect. That's just how it is, unfortunately, to work with the system. But yeah, sorry, Mustafa, you were saying.
Yeah.
So you should also be staying up to date on what the test will be like, because I remember in the 2021 Mdcat, they had this one question on the genus of an animal. They were asking about genuses of animals, family trees. Everyone complained, and then the next Mdcat they removed that, because why do you need to know a genus of I think so it was a octopus or a jellyfish? I can't remember. You don't need to know that for medicine. You should look at what the repeating patterns were. So in the 2021 Mdcat, except for the 2022 one, in the 2021 Mdcat, I saw that they were always focusing on electromagnetic radiation, EMR. So I focused my study on physics, on EMR, and then learned the concepts, basic concepts of every other type of physics there were. And then lo and behold, next Mdcat, I saw that it was almost EMR questions. Almost all of them are EMR questions, with a few on force. force and displacement. So I'll always look at the common trends you see in the previous 3 to 4 Mdcats. What did they focus on? And always make sure that when you sign up for the Mdcat, you sign up on a date before the final date, because I know for Americans and for Canadians, it was a hassle. I had to use I had like 3 different VPNs set up. I had to call my bank a few times, telling them, "Hey, this isn't a scam, a scam purchase. I'm doing this for real. Do not shut my card off." So always make sure that like you're doing this like at least a couple days before the final cutoff date. Don't do it at the cutoff date, because you are going to run into problems. And make sure that when you're doing it through Pakistan Standard Time. You're not doing it based off of your time. If it says 12 PST, they're not talking about Pacific Standard. They're talking about Pakistan Standard. So you need to make sure that you're looking at the time zone correctly as well. And aside from that, a few other study tips is, like Fatima said, look at online courses you can take that teach you about the Mdcat. So, such as for me, I used Nearpeer the first time I was taking it, and they were amazing. They gave basically everything you needed, but as Fatima also said, it is self-study. There's no one there to force you to study. You need to make sure that you're on top of your game. You should make study plans. So weekly schedule what you want to complete, and then make sure you don't fall behind, because the moment you fall behind is the moment it starts snowballing. And the moment it snowballs, you're not going to catch up. Do not let it snowball. Do not let a small ball turn into a big one, because you're not going to stop that. And this also applies for dental school and medical school. Don't wait last minute. Don't wait last minute to study for anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, time management is one of the most important things. And it doesn't start at your first day of medical school. It starts once you decide you want to become a doctor. All right, guys. So at this point, we have covered a lot of what it looks like to actually study in Pakistan, whether it's worth it, and you know, a lot of the you know, ins and outs of studying here, the exam, how to prepare for it. We are going to begin to wrap up this episode, and we do hope from all of us at Premed, and from Fatima and Mustafa as well, that this is an episode that was helpful for you and was beneficial to your journey towards medical school. The reason we really were interested in doing this is when we were deciding to come to Pakistan for med school, we had zero guidance, we had zero resources to turn to, and we made a lot of mistakes along the way. So we hope that this episode opened some opportunities for you, and you're able to understand a little bit more about what it actually looks like to study medicine in Pakistan. Now, of course, this is a process that can be very daunting. It can be very scary, and it is very, very draining along the way. Mustafa, if you could tell us a little bit about some tactics that, you know, any of our watchers could use to, you know, take care of their mental health as they progress through this process as well.
Yeah, so while studying for any major exam, it's always important to take care of your mental health. And there's a few ways you can do that, such as when you set up a study plan, you can have regular breaks. You can use that time to exercise, do yoga, meditation, talk to your friends, talk to your parents about any difficulties you're coming in with. And also, if you feel comfortable enough, talk to your student counselor, guidance counselor that you would usually find in your school. Because I do know Americans and us Canadians, we do have guidance counselors in our schools that will always be there to at least help us or guide us the best they can, even though they might not know the process that we're going through. But you can always complain to them about anything. You can always complain to your friends if you feel comfortable enough to tell them, hey, I'm taking an Mdcat. Or always complain to your parents about it, or just talk about it with someone, because to get a weight off of your chest, it's better to just hand that weight to other people to help you hold, rather than you trying to carry the world on your back. It's never gonna work. And this applies to every major exam you're taking. Like when I'm studying for my finals, I'm not going to be a hermit and just study all the way through until the final. I'll be sure to be social. I'll be sure to make sure I do my meditation, do my yoga, do whatever helps me calm down or helps me relax. Something that helps you relax is the main thing you should do while studying for a test.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mustafa. Mental health is one of the things that, goes under a lot of stress, and a lot of people tend to not prioritize as much once they enter, this field. And, it is something that you need to take care of every single step of the way, whether you're in your Mdcat phase, once you enter medical or dental school, and even afterwards when you're pursuing your postgraduate plans. It is a difficult field, and you need to make sure you prioritize yourself and your health at all times. Now, as we are finally approaching the end of this episode, we're going to ask our concluding questions from our speakers. So Fatima, if you could tell us a little bit about what you would have done differently if you were a pre-med student today.
Okay, so I would start practicing with past Mdcat questions way earlier than I started. The Pakistan exam structure compared to the one we're used to back in the West is significantly different. Okay, the first time I took the Mdcat back in 2021, I failed. And that's because I didn't familiarize myself with the exam structure enough. I prepared the concepts well, but I just wasn't prepared for the questioning techniques used. And so basically just get your hands on past papers as early as possible, get yourself accustomed to the grammar used on exams, and learn the exam pattern, and inshallah, you'll do better than I did on my first try.
Absolutely. Same story here. The truth is you can be one of the best students in the States and in Canada. You can be getting honors and everything, but the Mdcat is not what you're used to, right? Don't let that bring you down. All it takes is studying smart and studying hard, and you will get to where you need to be. Don't be discouraged. It's just a matter of persistence and to keep trying, and you will also one day be a future doctor. All right, Mustafa, could you also tell us a little bit about something you would have done differently if you were a pre-med student?
If I was to take the Mdcat now, in 2024, 2025, I would have definitely used med-angle pre-med, because somewhere that you can get study questions from or a bank of study questions from is vital. And that's something I wish I had more study questions rather than repeated questions. And papers not from the 90s, preferably. I always wish that I started studying more earlier, and at a much better ratio than I was now. Ratio as in like the level I was studying at. I should have focused more on the quality of my study rather than how much can I complete today. There's this saying that my professor says now, and she says, learn something of everything, not everything of something. And that saying should stay with you when you're studying for the Mdcat. Don't try and learn every single little concept you can. Learn the main concepts. Once you understand them, move on.
Thank you so much, Mustafa. And just like that, we have approached the end of this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. This session was helpful and informative, and we've all been in your shoes before and know firsthand how confusing the road to medical school can be. And we hope that this episode makes that road a little bit more clear for you now. I'd like to take the time to extend a huge thank you to our speakers today, Fatima, Amer, and Mustafa Rizvi, both of whom took out the time out of their very, very busy schedules to join us and, share this insight that is very difficult for a lot of North American pre-meds to get access to. As always, MedAngle Pre-Med remains committed to our mission of revolutionizing medical education in Pakistan and beyond. I encourage you, as someone who used MedAngle Pre-Med myself, to check it out and sign up today. It is completely free, so that any pre-med, regardless of whether they are in Pakistan, America, Canada, the Middle East, and regardless of how much money they have in their wallet, can sign up for it and begin their road to medical school today. So we hope that you can be one of those future doctors that will be joining us very soon. And if this video was helpful for you, please leave a comment, like, share, and with anyone else that this may help as well. Until next time, future doctors. Bye-bye.